Well, good afternoon. When I was in 6th grade, all of us kids would go out on the playground and we'd get hot and sweaty and energized, run around. And to bring us back in the classroom and get us a little more focused on classwork, our teacher, Mr. Rouse, would have us come in and put our heads down on our desks. And he'd read to us for 15 or 20 minutes. Now, I don't remember every book that Mr. Rouse read to us that year, but I do remember one book in particular. It was Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. Now, some of you may be familiar with the book. It's the story of a boy named Billy and 2 coonhounds. If you're not familiar with the book, I hate to break it to you, but at the end of the book, the dogs die. Now, picture yourself in that room full of 6th graders. Everyone around the room is sobbing. Even the big boys are crying. And I think that says something about the power of dogs and the power of books. Dogs are emotionally bonded creatures to humans. They are very powerful creatures. They work with us, play with us, they serve us, sometimes they sleep with us, and they also, many of them serve a certain purpose in our society, and those dogs are service and therapy dogs. Now, there are organizations all over the country, all over the world, that train service and therapy dogs to work with people who have the need for them. There is one particular group in Anchorage called Midnight Sun Service Dogs, and that was founded by 2 sufferers of post-traumatic stress syndrome. And what they found was that their lives had been so greatly improved by their relationships with their service dogs that they decided, as they put it, to pay it forward 1 paw at a time. And they train and help place service dogs with people who need them. Now, I'm a children's librarian at Anchorage Public Library. And one of the things I like to do as a librarian is bring community members into the library and work with us to create programs that are informational, educational, but also fun. So Midnight Sun and the library decided to team up and bring a program called PAWSitive Reading to the library. And the program is very simple. The kids read to a dog. Now, what PAWSitive Reading is, it's basically a reading opportunity for pre-readers, struggling readers, reluctant readers, readers who need a little extra help getting that reading practice in. And so what happens with PAWSitive Reading is the kids come in the room and read to a dog who is a judgment-free audience. He just listens, and the kid gets to experience reading without any pressure. They get the practice of reading, and it builds their self-esteem and helps them become better readers. Some young readers feel self-conscious about reading to a dog, or reading aloud, but when they read to a dog, it's a much more positive experience, thus the name PAWSitive Reading. So PAWSitive Reading actually had its germ with a founder of Midnight Sun who observed a 5-year-old say his first word while petting a service dog. And so fast forward a couple of months, it's the beginning of summer 2013, and I'm having a conversation with a woman named Sheila Barrett. Now, Sheila has a therapy dog in training, and she was in the library to talk to me about a program, and she brought Swivel Shot with her. That's her dog's name. He's very good at waving hello and goodbye. And she talked about all the things that Swivel Shot was doing in the community, such as visiting retirement homes, going to hospitals, visiting Anchorage School District classrooms to allow the kids to read to her. So she said, hey, wouldn't this be a great thing to do in the library? It's about books, it's about kids, it's about dogs, let's do it. So I thought, hey, that sounds really cute, it sounds really fun, sounds like a great PR opportunity. But I also had to think, how does this fit the mission of the library? Does it really help promote reading? Do kids' reading skills really improve by reading to a dog? And I did, as a librarian, of course, some research. And I found a couple of studies that I thought were very telling. There was one study done by the University of Chicago Center for Literacy. And they studied children who were participating in their Sit, Stay, Read program. And they administered an oral standardized reading test. Now, the kids that participated in the program, they found that the kids who did participate not only improved their overall reading scores, but their reading rate improved by 24 words per minute. Now, contrast that with the control group that did not participate in the program. Their reading rate improved by 9 words per minute. There's another study that I thought was really fun. It was done by a medical researcher at Johns Hopkins University. And he studied 38 kids and studied them while they were in the act of reading aloud, measured their blood pressure. As soon as they started reading aloud, their blood pressure rose. All he had to do was introduce a pet animal into the room, their blood pressure dropped. And there are numerous studies out there that talk about the benefits of therapy dogs in a variety of settings. So what we do in the library is I bring the kids into the room and introduce them to the service dog, and the kids read for 15 or 20 minutes. And what tends to happen is I will pick out a set of books for the kids to read from, and I'll pick it from our beginning reader collection. And at first I thought, you know, this is subconscious on my part, but eventually it became deliberate on my part that I tended to pick out books about dogs and cats. So one Saturday I noticed I had picked out Puppy Mudge Finds a Friend, Go Dog Go, Splat the Cat, What's Your Sound, Hound the Hound. And I actually now do that deliberately because when a kid is having trouble picking out a book to read, it's really easy to be able to say to them, don't you think it would be funny to read a book about a cat to a dog? And actually, some of them think that's pretty funny. So what happens is, it's usually a one-on-one reading situation, but sometimes a whole herd of kids will descend down on one dog. One of our most frequent visitors for PAWSitive Reading is a dog named Pagan. I remember the Saturday in January, Pagan had like 8 kids circled around her, and each taking their turn patiently waiting to read. But usually it is a one-on-one situation. It's really nice because the kid gets to come into a calm environment. Their handler is there with the dog. I introduce them to the dog. And, you know, the handler's there to help, maybe if they're struggling with a word, maybe they're having trouble with a sentence. But really, for the most part, it's the kid reading aloud to the dog. Now, one of the things I do have to do, because I'm working with children, is I do need to get the parents' permission for them to come in and read to the dog. So I actually have them sign a liability waiver because dogs are animals and they're very well trained and they're very well handled, but dogs are animals and animals can be unpredictable. Now, in an ideal world, I would just walk up to any kid in the library and say, hey kid, want to read to a dog? But I don't live in an ideal world, so. So I keep track of which kid is going into which room to read to which dog, and I give them 15 or 20 minutes, but some kids, they read for 5 minutes, they get through a book quickly, they're done, they're happy, they go on with their day. On the other hand, there are the kids who want to go around the room and read to every single dog and stay in there for the full 2 hours, which is really hard for me as a children's librarian to put a damper on that kind of enthusiasm when it comes to reading, but I do have to be fair to all the people who are waiting to read to a dog. So we started this program in July 2013, and we held it over 4 successive Saturdays. And it was fantastic. There was so much enthusiasm in the room. Kids were everywhere, dogs were everywhere, photographers were everywhere. It was so exciting and energizing, and I thought, wow, this is such a success. Not. Because really the program is about reading. And a circus atmosphere is just not conducive to reading. So I work really hard to keep things very calm and focused in the room. And as a result, the handlers have reported back to me that the kids are having a much more pleasant experience. They're able to concentrate and stay focused on the book. And I think the handlers enjoy it a lot more too. And the dogs do get something out of this program. For example, there's a golden doodle that has come with us a couple of months ago. Her name is Lucy, and she was 8 months old when she started with us. So cute. But she was a puppy, and you know, puppies can sit still for just so long, and then they've got to get up and move around. So the first time Lucy was with us, she was able to sit still through about, 3 kids, and then that was her threshold, and she was done. 1 month later, at 9 months old, Lucy's able to sit through for almost the full 2 hours. So this has been a really great training experience for the dogs. There's yet another benefit to this program beyond reading. The kids learn about dog etiquette. They learn about how to approach a dog, how to ask for permission to come to a dog, how to pet a dog, how to respect a dog's space. So they get something out of it too. Now, like I said, there are studies and there's research and there's statistics, but I want to share with you a couple of kids that I worked with in our PAWSitive Reading program who I think really, for me personally, showed the advantage of a program like this. One is a young girl who is a pre-reader. English is not her first language. And she really wanted to participate in the program. So we worked really hard to find the right kind of book for her. We ended up settling on a Walter Wick book. If you're not up on children's literature, Walter Wick writes the I Spy books. And I Spy books are fantastic for people who need a lot of visual. They're these large picture books, double spread picture, crammed full of things that you're supposed to pick out and find that are hidden in the picture. Find the chess piece, find the thimble, find the cookie. Ming Han went into the room with her father and stayed in there for the full 20 minutes showing pictures from the I Spy book to Pagan the dog. And when she came out, she said, "I'm so happy." She looked at the pictures. Another reader that I really love to observe, she has been with us for several months in a row now, and she is what I would call a struggling reader. She's probably in about 2nd grade. And she usually was able to sit through part of a book and then she would kind of give up and be done. The last time she was with us, she sat for the full 20 minutes and struggled to get through that book. It was painful to watch, but she got through it. And when she came out, her mother said to me, "I can't believe she sat in there for a full 20 minutes and talked and read to the dog. She never reads out loud at home." And that's not the only parent who's reported that to me. Now, one regular is so inspired by the whole setup that she doesn't even come to read anymore. She comes to talk to the handlers about how she can turn one of her 4 dogs into a therapy dog. Now, not everybody's crazy about dogs. Some people are afraid of dogs. Some kids say, "I don't want anything to do with it." But I always invite them to come peek in the room just to see what's going on. And some kids actually get interested after they see how easy it is. Some kids aren't. That's cool. But I always invite them to come back the next month and participate if they're interested in. As a children's librarian, one of my goals is that whatever experience, literacy related or educational related, that I do in the library, I want the parents and the caregivers and the kids to go home and continue that experience. I'm reminded of, it was probably my first year as a children's librarian, and a mom came to me, they were regulars at story time, preschool story time, a daughter and a mother. The mother said to me that her daughter, who could not yet read, would go home and place all of her stuffed animals around her and she would play story time. And that's really I thought, wow, that's really what I want to see happen. And I want to see the same thing happen with PAWSitive Reading. So usually when the kids come out of the room, I'll say, "Hey, do you have a pet or an animal at home you can read to? Do you have a stuffed animal? A baby brother or sister? Someone who will just listen to you?" So let me tell you a little bit about success. There are a lot of ways to define success. I could cram as many kids into that room in a 2-hour time period as I can, and I could call that success. Look at the numbers. But this program reminds me that success happens one child at a time. And when that child has that intimate one-on-one relationship with a dog, a caring and judgment-free listener, and the child gets to experience the joy of reading and the joy of books, I call that success. And that's the power of dogs and reading. And before I close, I want to introduce you to one of our favorite dogs that participates in PAWSitive Reading. This is Sheila Barrett and Swivel Shot. Thank you very much.